Aboard the Discovery, L'Rell tells Tyler that until Pike returned, her ship would monitor Boreth for unusual activity, and if anything should threaten their son, she would ensure his safety. Tyler asks if she was speaking as a mother or as a chancellor. L'Rell replies that he, of all people, should know that two truths are possible. Tyler apologizes, saying that his remark was uncalled for. L'Rell recognizes that these were not the ideal circumstances for their meeting, and they both admit they had not expected to see each other again. L'Rell has accepted the truth of their relationship, that Tyler would always be in love with Burnham. L'Rell had been in love with Volk, who had sacrificed everything, but that's not who he was now.
Mm-hmm.
And that while she did not wholly recognize him anymore, she nonetheless understood that he would do whatever necessary to protect their son, as would she. And then Tyler points out that they never gave him a name.
Greg. There, yeah. I named him.
There you go.
Greg.
You ever met a Klingon named Paul before? Klingon Paul. How do you feel about this? On Boreth, Tanavik escorts Pike into the heart of the monastery, showing him a pillar of the past, pillar of the present. When the future becomes the past, the present will be unlocked. Tanavik leads from the pillar of the present as he produces a crystalline key from his robes, unlocking the pillar and opening the door across the way. They enter a chamber with pillars adorned with time crystals. One of the crystals seems to respond to Pike, who asks what he must do. Tanavik tells him that he must see for himself, but it was for him alone. As Pike reaches out for the crystal, Tanavik warns him, the present is a veil between anticipation and horror. Lift the veil, and madness may follow. Pike kneels down, reaches out, and suddenly finds himself on the engine room of a Class J starship on a training cruise.
No.
Now,
Pike, don't do it.
Was it in the engine room? I don't remember all the descriptions of it. I always thought it was on the bridge of a ship where he saved the trainees.
No, it was not on the bridge.
Okay.
I can't say 100% that it was the engine room, but I know it wasn't on the bridge.
Okay. Because I suddenly was thinking that it was like in a different part of the ship, which has suffered a critical radiation leak. Consoles are exploding everywhere. He's urging cadets to get out when a baffle plate ruptures, severely burning his body, just as the engine room is locked down. Just then, the moment shift, and Pike, himself uninjured, as a wheelchair rolls into a darkened corridor in which he is standing. Pike falls to his knees in stunned horror as he recognizes the face of the wheelchair's occupant as his own. But
face Pike.
But a little more pizza-y. Horribly scarred in the present. Pike screams in sheer terror and recoils from the crystal, shaken to the core after witnessing what he realizes will be his future. Tanavik tells him that he may choose to walk away from this future, but if he takes the crystal, his fate is sealed forever, and there will be no escaping it. Pike reminds himself that he's a Starfleet captain. I get choked up every time I watch this scene. Dedicated to service, sacrifice, compassion, and love. He would not abandon what made him who he is simply because a crystal showed him a future he did not see for himself. And then he tells Tanavik to give him the crystal. Tanavik takes the crystal and holds it out to him. I honor you, Captain, he says. Pike hesitantly reaches out and takes the crystal, witnessing once again flashes of his fate, a fate that is now inevitable.
Yeah, I feel like he could have remembered that in Strange New Worlds, but I guess he forgot.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're always looking for the way to cut a corner.
Hey,
we're always hoping to trip up fate somewhere and come out ahead,
Hey, man, when a newborn Klingon who is now older than you tells you your fate is sealed, you better believe it, my friend.
Somebody better listen. Those newborn 50-year-old Klingons, they don't fool around. I remember this as in completely rewriting the Pike character in my head for me. Now, at this point, we didn't know Strange New Worlds was going to be a show. We kind of assumed that Discovery would end, and that would be the last we saw of Pike.
Yeah.
And I remember going from thinking that Pike was a guy who went from Talos 4 to whatever his life was to some terrible accident, and then back to Talos 4 as just some fluke of Spock getting him out of there. And,
well, this Klingon is saying that, yes, that is what's going to happen.
Well, but what's happening is Pike is agreeing to that future.
Yeah.
But he's agreeing to go ahead and like go with that future. Like he understands that the gravity of the situation they're in, this is what's required of him. And that kind of reconstructed the character in my head.
How so?
Because, one is just for him to accidentally end up in a place and damaged and okay, whatever. But now you've taken this character who we barely knew, but, we had always kind of known. And you've made him, I'd say over the course of Discovery Season 2, when we did interact with him, we really did get to see him as one of the best Starfleet captains we had seen.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And then it continues on in Strange New Worlds, for sure.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. But without all of that hanging around, like we thought this was going to be the end of it. I thought we were seeing a Pike who was just giving, that's it. Like this is everything that I have to give, and I'm giving it right here and now. Because we didn't know that they were going to go and build another show off of that later. But he took the sacrifice, he took it willingly, and as much as you could, took it unflinchingly.
I find it very hard to believe, though, that they introduced Pike with Anson Mount and had no intention on using him past Season 2 of Discovery.
Well, so there's some weird things hanging out there, like, Brian Fuller started this show and left, started Discovery and left, right?
Yeah.
And then Akiva Goldsman was one of the people who was brought in to finish wrapping it up. And when he was told, oh yeah, it's going to be about Star Trek before Kirk, he walked in there thinking he was going to be taking over a show about Captain Pike. And then when he found out it was something different, he was like, oh, okay, well, so they will tell you in different interviews that when they did this, when they got Pike and they put that crew together, they were hoping somehow it would lead to a show, but they didn't know quite how.
I mean, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. Now, what happened was those of us who were watching as it happened, everybody loved this Pike and Spock and number one so much. We're like, we have to have more of that. That is actually more of what we want to see than Discovery.
Yep.
But yeah, so I mean, just kind of, this whole episode just kind of cemented Pike in a way that I think not rewrites the character, but refocuses the attention of the character.
No, I got you.